Star Trek's Trelane actor also played a second TOS villain in the very next season, and again 27 years later. William Campbell memorably played Trelane, the Squire of Gothos, in Star Trek, the original series Season 1, and he returned as a different villain the next season. Star Trek, the original series, contains several classic episodes, especially in its first 2 seasons. Star Trek Season 1's The Squire of Gothos is a highlight, and Season 2's Trials and Tribulations is an all-time classic. Both feature William Campbell as distinctive villains. In Star Trek, the original series Season 1's The Squire of Gothos, Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, and the Starship Enterprise are lured to the planet Gothos by Trelane. A being who possesses incredible powers, Trelane toys with Kirk and grows exceedingly dangerous. Trelane is eventually revealed to be a petulant child and a member of an unidentified species, although many Star Trek fans speculate that Trelane may be part of the Q continuum introduced in Star Trek: The Next Generation. William Campbell played the Klingon Koloth just 1 Star Trek season after playing Trelane. William Campbell returned to Star Trek, the original series, in Season 2 as Captain Koloth in the comedic romp, The Trouble with Tribbles. The Klingon captain was a foil to Captain Kirk when he called for shore leave rights on Deep Space Station K7. Although Koloth and the Klingons seemed to be the episode's heavies, it was actually a different Klingon spy disguised as a human named Arn Darvin Charlie Brill working to sabotage the United Federation of Planets' development of Sherman's planet. Despite his goatee and Klingon attire, William Campbell is easily recognizable from his prior Star Trek outing as Trelane. No hair and costume can disguise Campbell's distinctive voice. Even as a threatening Klingon, Campbell played Koloth as surprisingly polite and well-spoken, referring to his adversary as "My dear Captain Kirk." There are clear hints of William's performance as Trelane that carried over into how he played Koloth. William Campbell's Koloth was supposed to be a recurring Star Trek villain. Trelane was a one-and-done Star Trek villain, but there were grander plans for the Klingon Captain Koloth. Star Trek's executive producer Jean-Luc originally wanted to introduce William Campbell as the Klingon in Star Trek, the original series Season 1's Errand of Mercy, which was the Klingons' debut as Star Trek villains. However, it hadn't been long enough since Campbell portrayed Trelane for him to come back as a different character. William Campbell waited 18 months to return to Star Trek as Captain Koloth, and he was supposed to be Captain Kirk's recurring main Klingon adversary. However, those plans were nixed when Jean-Luc left Star Trek and was replaced by Fred Freiberger as executive producer in Season 3. William Campbell did return to voice Koloth in the Star Trek, the animated series episode, More Tribbles, More Troubles. 27 years after his debut as Captain Koloth in Star Trek, the original series, William Campbell returned as the aged Klingon warrior in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine Season 2's Blood Oath. Now a Dagger Master, Koloth joined his fellow Klingons from TOS, Kor and Kang Michael and Sarah on a final mission against a Klingon albino to fulfill a blood pact the trio made in the 2290s. Koloth and Kang died their glorious deaths in battle on DS9, ending both of their Star Trek. When it comes to memorable villains in Star Trek, the original series, few are as flamboyant and enigmatic as Trelane, the godlike mischief maker from the classic episode, The Squire of Gothos. But what many fans may not realize is that the actor behind Trelane, William Campbell, wasn't done tormenting the crew of the Enterprise after just 1 outing. In fact, he returned as another major antagonist in the very next season, albeit with far less powdered wig and far more wine. Then, astonishingly, he returned again 27 years later, reprising that second role in one of Star Trek: The Next Generation's most unusual and nostalgic episodes. Campbell's return wasn't just a case of reusing actors, a fairly common practice in Trek due to tight production schedules and budgets. Rather, it was a testament to his scene-stealing charisma and his rare ability to bring both menace and mischief to a performance. Few could have embodied the operatic excesses of Trelane quite like Campbell, who essentially prefigured the Next Generation's Q long before the omnipotent trickster ever snapped his fingers into existence. But Campbell wasn't finished with his theatrical space villainy just yet. From Trelane to Klingon, the dual legacy of William Campbell, Trelane first appeared in the 1967 episode The Squire of Gothos. Dressed like an 18th century nobleman and speaking with an aristocratic flair, Trelane is a childlike, powerful alien who fancies himself a connoisseur of Earth's past, especially its more violent and romanticized elements. He invites kidnaps Captain Kirk and company into his Gothic castle to engage in his odd games, all of which eventually reveal a dangerous immaturity. Though Trelane is initially portrayed as a capricious god, the episode's twist reveals he is essentially a child of the Q-like species, playing at power beyond his understanding. Campbell's performance was unforgettable, part Liberace, part Errol Flynn, with a dash of spoiled teenager. The role demanded equal parts theatrical bravado and chilling detachment, traits that would become a signature of many Star Trek omnipotent being villains to follow. But while most actors might disappear into obscurity after such a colorful performance, Campbell was summoned back for Season 2. And this time, he traded in his brocade vest for something far more warlike, the rugged uniform and bat'leth-bearing snarl of a Klingon. Enter Koloth, Klingon class with a dash of panache. In the episode The Trouble with Tribbles, Campbell re-emerged as Koloth, a Klingon commander with a distinctly smoother edge than the usual gruff warrior archetypes. While many Klingons in TOS leaned toward the brutish and bombastic, Koloth was cool, calculating, and suave, a clear echo of the flamboyance Campbell had brought to Trelane, but tempered with military precision. Koloth's face-off with Captain Kirk in the bustling K-7 space station lounge is still one of the most beloved moments in TOS history, especially as it leads into the infamous brawl over fuzzy, cooing tribbles. Yet for all the episode's levity, Koloth never slips into parody. Campbell plays him with dignity, arrogance, and a steel spine, making him a standout among early Klingon characters. Despite appearing in only one original episode as Koloth, Campbell's portrayal left an impression that lasted for decades. A return 27 years later, Koloth in the 24th century, fast forward nearly 3 decades, and Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, always fond of mining the rich history of the franchise, brought Campbell back for a final, glorious encore. In the 1994 episode Blood Oath, Campbell reprised his role as Koloth, now a wizened warrior confronting old promises and ancient enemies alongside fellow legendary Klingons Kor and Kang. Airing 27 years after his first turn as Koloth, Campbell's return was more than just a cameo. It was a character study, a reckoning with time and honor, and a bridge between eras of Star Trek. His Koloth, now grizzled and far removed from the smooth talker of Tribbles, showed the scars of a life lived in war and diplomacy. Yet the same core traits remained: his pride, his elegance, his cunning. Blood Oath gave fans a rare gift, watching characters and actors age in real time, confronting their past with the weight of years behind them. Campbell's performance was full of quiet gravitas, his once flamboyant presence distilled into the bitter resolve of an aging warrior seeking one last battle. A legacy of theatrical villainy. William Campbell's dual legacy as both Trelane and Koloth represents something unique in Star Trek's sprawling mythos, an actor who could anchor 2 wildly different characters with equal magnetism. It's rare for a performer to play 2 recurring villains in the same franchise,